Hi, I'm Tim. Welcome to Watchbox, and thanks for logging on. If you love this watch, email me, tmosso@thewatchbox.com. Your purchase and pricing email question line for buying this or any watch you see on any Watchbox platform. Please reach out to me directly. Email tmosso@thewatchbox.com for pricing details. Today, we're discussing a spectacular Lange Söhne Lange 1 Moonphase. Now, the model itself was launched in 2002, and the example you see here was sold in 2005. And although this is yellow gold, over the years, the case has remained untouched, which has resulted in a spectacular and even rich patina. So this is yellow gold, but you can see it almost has a reddish tinge, almost as though it's transitioned from straight up yellow gold to a sort of mix of chromium, yellow gold, and red gold. It's an extraordinary effect that often occurs in spots on older untouched yellow gold watches. Here, the regularity and uniform distribution of that patina has created a watch that is unlike any other I've seen from Lange. The watch, from a standardization standpoint, is a 38.5 millimeter Lange 1 Moonphase. So that's the diameter, 38.5, and then 10.3 is the thickness. And then 47.3 millimeters is the distance from lug tip to lug tip, with a 20 millimeter spacing between the lugs. I have to admit, I've seen this type of patina on watches from the 40s, 50s, and 60s. I've never seen it develop on a watch from the 21st century, but this watch is approaching 20 years old, and if left untouched over time, this kind of effect can develop on even modern yellow gold watches. Don't touch the case, leave it like this. On my 16 centimeter circumference wrist, you can see this fiery and intense watch wears conventionally for a sub 39 millimeter round timepiece. It's short enough from lug to lug that it's nowhere near overlapping the edge of my 16 centimeter wrist, and I could recommend it for wrists as small as 13.5 centimeters circumference, so this is a viable option for him and for her. It's a standard strap from Lange, large rectangular scale alligator leather, matte finish, reddish brown, monotone stitch. We have a folded edge. We have calfskin on the bottom in dark brown, and you can see this is a brand new Lange factory strap. We have a Lange gold pin buckle that fortunately matches the case. This must have been stored in a uniform environment because all the pieces seem to have aged evenly. One of the problems with patina is it often proceeds at different rates on different parts of a watch. This is as uniform as I have ever seen, and you can see it continues on the case back. You can tell in particular how much darker and more intense the case back is than the gold-hued German silver movement. Taking a quick look at the buckle, it's a smart piece. You can see that the bridge is elevated over the prongs, so when the strap is inside the buckle, it's flush on the wrist. It doesn't stack up underneath and add thickness. There's also a little retaining bar that's quite clever, because if you're like me and you use the smallest hole, you have a tiny wrist, or maybe even punch a smaller hole so you can wear it tightly on a small wrist, a lot of times a watch will get pinned on the pin, so to speak, and it can be difficult to extricate. So this little retaining bar prevents the strap from sliding too far down the pin, so even if you strap it tightly, you can remove it easily. The case is absolutely stunning. Now you could see some of the gradient. When I talk about this being a patina, you could see that the edge of the underside of the lugs right here are a little bit lighter and closer to the original yellow gold hue, and you could see that here as well. This is something that you could not reproduce even if you wanted to. So once again, don't do a thing to it. Leave it like this. The watch is conventional from a Lange 1 standpoint, patina notwithstanding. We have a satin finished mid-case, a polished bezel, polished lugs, and a polished case back. The bezel has a short vertical section and then it transitions to a domed profile. There's both satination and polishing on the trigger. For the panorama datum, or the outsize date, we have a Lange Söhne, the company name, on the crown. And then we have a little bit of a stepped out profile to the lugs. They're broken out from the case band rather than integrated. So this is a Lange styling tradition, and there's a little bit of a bevel profile on the edge of the lugs. The dial is made of sterling silver. It's then galvanized this opaline silver white. The Moonphase disc is made of solid gold, and at Lange, not only do they use solid gold on their Moonphase discs, but the Moonphase uses a perpetual calendar type of programming. So there are more teeth to the wheel associated with driving this calendar than on a conventional moon phase. A conventional moon phase needs to be adjusted roughly once every 2 3/4 years. This one only needs to be touched every 122.6 years. So a solid gold moon phase, a super long adjustment interval, and then there's one more innovation. Lange introduced a moon phase that is constantly scrolling. So it's always moving slowly across this crescent display. It doesn't jump once per day like a date. So this is a full-time scrolling moon phase, a progressive moon phase, something very rare in watchmaking. We have hacking or stop seconds, as you can see, and we have this little pusher adjuster for changing the big date. Fun fact, the Lange big date was originally a JLC patent given to Lange in its early days as a gesture of friendship because JLC and Lange were within the same group at the time, just as they are today. So the dial is made of sterling silver, the moon phase disc is made of gold, the hands, the indices, the numerals, and the frame for the date also made of gold. And then we have a little bit of a cut for the sub-register with coaxial moon phase and constant seconds. We have alpha-style hands for telling the hours and the minutes. We also have an alpha-style hand for the up-down power reserve indicator. It is manual wind, twin mainspring barrel, 72-hour power reserve, and perhaps surprisingly for such a formal-looking watch, it does have luminescence. And you can see even the power reserve scale has been loomed. All right, turning it over, by the way, all of the indices applique with quarter Roman numerals. Turn it over. We have caliber 901.5. So 90 is the year work started on the movement. That was the first year of the reborn and reconstructed a.lange Söhne brand. 1 means this was the first movement started that year, and then 0.5 means this is the 5th version of the 901 movement. It is gorgeous. The twin barrels ensure that you don't get a big balance amplitude drop off after 24 hours or 48 hours. That's really why you use 2 barrels, because you can get 10 days of power reserve out of 1 barrel. But if you want even performance and consistent timekeeping, you want twin barrels to even that torque release from max wind to minimum wind. Of course, it pivots on 54 joules, and it is adjusted in a chronometer style, 5 positions. 5 positions is what you see on high-end movements. From Geneva Seal to certified chronometers, that is what is considered super premium. Now, the movement's made of German silver, which is not actually silver. It's a nickel, copper, zinc alloy, and the copper gives it that golden hue. So while it's highly corrosion resistant, it will fade to a wonderful, rich gold over time. It starts as a super bright, lightly gold-tinged, almost champagne color, and over time, it will become more and more like the color of this case. Now, we have a freehand engraved balance cock. That's a tradition at the modern Lange company. No 2 of these components are exactly alike because they are done by hand with a burn, not with an engine. We have both black polished screws and fired blued screws. We also have a black polished cap to the escape wheel and a black polished swan's neck fine adjustment mechanism. We have glasuta stripes across the bridges, engine turned perlage on the base plate. And though we don't have many bridges, here you can see every edge is mirror beveled, and so too are the edges of the access ports inside the 3/4 style bridge. The 3/4 style bridge is a pocket watch nod to the way watches were made before communism in East Germany, and they are made this way again today. We also have jewels set in golden chaton, not necessary, strictly speaking, but back in the day, the 19th century, the era of a.lange, the company founder, jewels would be pressed into precision golden chaton, which would then be fit directly into the bridge using screws to hold them in place, because machining and pressing was not precise enough to directly enter the pivot jewel into the bridge or the plate. So this is how it was done. In the modern era, it's aesthetically pleasing, but I have heard that from a functional standpoint, it adds just a little bit of extra shock resistance because there is some give in the screw-fixed chaton. And of course, this is all 30 meters water resistant, and it beats away at 21,600 vibrations per hour. Reach out to Team Mosso at thewatchbox.com for what is likely the only example of a Lange 1 moon phase you will ever see, with this kind of even, almost orange-tinted, golden glowing patina.